Welcome to Episode 40, Microsoft Entra ID and Directory Services, where we explore how Microsoft's identity platform organizes and protects digital identities across the cloud. The Entra ecosystem is built to manage who can access what, under what conditions, and from where. Every organization that moves to the cloud must think about identity as the first line of defense, not an afterthought. In this episode, we unpack how tenants, directories, and domains connect together, how users and applications are represented, and how security features such as multi-factor authentication and conditional access fit into the bigger picture. By understanding Entra's identity model, you can design access that is both convenient and secure, striking the balance between productivity and control that modern cloud environments demand. The Microsoft Entra platform serves as the backbone for identity and access management within Microsoft's cloud ecosystem. It brings together features that were once known as Azure Active Directory and expands them into a unified approach for cloud identity. Entra provides authentication, authorization, and directory services that tie users and applications together across Microsoft 365, Azure, and thousands of integrated apps. The system ensures that identity becomes a trusted control plane, meaning that every access decision can be evaluated and logged. Understanding Entra is crucial for anyone responsible for administering access or designing secure cloud architectures, because it connects every other Microsoft service to its users and policies. At the heart of Entra are three closely related ideas: the tenant, the directory, and the domain. A tenant represents your organization's slice of Microsoft's cloud, its own space to store and manage identities. Inside the tenant lives the directory, which contains objects such as users, groups, and applications. The domain gives these objects recognizable names, like contoso.com, and links them to familiar logon identities. This hierarchy allows Microsoft to isolate each organization's data while still enabling cross-organizational collaboration when permissions allow. Thinking of the tenant as the container, the directory as the content, and the domain as the label helps clarify how each piece contributes to identity organization. Within that directory, the most visible elements are users, groups, and application registrations. Users represent people, employees, contractors, or guests, while groups collect users into manageable sets for assigning permissions. Application registrations define how apps integrate with Entra for authentication and access. When you register an application, you give it an identity that can request tokens and access resources according to defined scopes. This structure makes it possible to grant access once to a group or app registration instead of repeating permissions for every individual. By modeling real-world roles through these directory objects, administrators can maintain consistency and reduce the risk of accidental overexposure. Service principals and managed identities take the concept of application identity further. A service principal is essentially the live instance of an application's registration. It is the object that actually signs in to Entra and receives tokens. Managed identities simplify this by giving Azure services built-in credentials that rotate automatically. Imagine a virtual machine needing to read from a storage account. Instead of embedding a password, it uses its managed identity to request a token securely. This approach eliminates secrets from configuration files and greatly reduces the chance of credential leakage. Understanding this separation between registration, service principal, and managed identity helps you design applications that are secure by default. Authentication in Entra revolves around tokens and claims. When a user or service signs in, Entra issues a token containing claims, pieces of information such as username, group membership, or device state. Applications then verify these tokens instead of handling passwords directly. This token-based approach enables single sign-on and federation across many services without repeatedly asking for credentials. Tokens have limited lifetimes, which helps reduce risk if they are stolen. Claims make each authentication event richer, allowing access policies to consider not just who is signing in, but also how, from where, and under what device conditions. Single sign-on, or SSO, is one of Entra's most valued capabilities because it reduces friction while strengthening security. With SSO, a user can log in once and access multiple applications without new prompts. Entra supports both modern protocols, such as OpenID Connect and SAML, to integrate with thousands of services. For example, an employee could move from Microsoft Teams to Salesforce without signing in again because the same Entra token is trusted by both. SSO improves user experience and minimizes the temptation to reuse passwords across systems, a behavior that commonly leads to breaches. When designed correctly, it aligns convenience with strong authentication principles. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, adds a second layer of verification beyond the password. Entra makes MFA flexible, allowing combinations of app notifications, biometrics, hardware keys, or phone codes. Passwordless sign-ins go even further by replacing the password entirely with secure methods like Windows Hello or FIDO2 keys. The idea is to shift trust away from something you know, like a password, towards something you have or are. This not only increases security, but also simplifies the user experience. For organizations adopting zero-trust strategies, MFA and passwordless methods form the core of verifying every access attempt, regardless of network location. Conditional access transforms authentication into an adaptive decision process. Instead of granting access based only on identity, Entra evaluates context, the user's role, device compliance, location, and risk level. Administrators can craft policies that enforce MFA when users connect from new devices, block legacy authentication from untrusted networks, or limit high-risk sign-ins until verified. This kind of context-aware policy engine lets organizations enforce security dynamically, matching protections to the sensitivity of the resource. Conditional access policies are the practical expression of zero trust. Never trust by default, always verify based on real-time conditions. Directory synchronization bridges on-premises identity systems with Entra in the cloud. Many organizations still maintain Active Directory for local devices and servers, so tools like Azure AD Connect or Cloud Sync keep user data consistent. These tools copy attributes, synchronize passwords, and maintain group memberships between environments. For instance, when a new employee is added to the local directory, that identity can automatically appear in Entra without manual steps. Syncing reduces administrative overhead and allows gradual transitions to cloud-first identity management. The key is choosing the sync method that aligns with your infrastructure, bandwidth, and governance model. Entra Domain Services extend directory capabilities even further by offering domain join, group policy, and Kerberos authentication in the cloud. It provides a managed domain that mirrors key features of on-premises Active Directory without the need for domain controllers. This is particularly useful for legacy applications that require domain authentication but are hosted in Azure. Administrators can bind those workloads to Entra Domain Services and retire old infrastructure. It acts as a compatibility bridge for hybrid environments, giving older systems a secure path into the cloud identity ecosystem without redesigning authentication logic. Choosing a tenant and domain strategy is a foundational design step for any organization adopting Entra. Some enterprises prefer a single tenant to simplify management, while others use multiple tenants to separate subsidiaries or regions. Domain choices influence how users sign in and how email addresses align with organizational branding. The strategy should balance simplicity, compliance, and collaboration needs. A well-planned structure avoids complex migrations later and ensures clear boundaries for data, policies, and access. Architects must weigh flexibility against control when designing how tenants and domains will grow alongside business operations. Security in Entra begins with least privilege, granting only the access that is required and nothing more. Default roles and built-in permissions often cover most administrative needs, but it is easy to over-assign rights when troubleshooting or testing. Entra's role-based access control helps reduce this by letting you scope permissions precisely. Monitoring privileged accounts, using just-in-time access, and reviewing role assignments regularly all reinforce a least privilege mindset. The goal is to minimize the potential blast radius of any compromised account while keeping management practical for day-to-day operations. Governance in identity management goes beyond security. It ensures accountability, lifecycle control, and compliance. Entra provides tools for access reviews, entitlement management, and audit logs that track every sign-in and policy change. These features help confirm that users have only the access they need for as long as they need it. Lifecycle management also handles joiners, movers, and leavers automatically, reducing human error. By connecting identity governance to organizational policies, you can demonstrate control to auditors and maintain confidence in your security posture without excessive manual effort. Understanding Microsoft Entra ID and its directory services gives you a solid foundation for managing identity in the cloud. The tenant, directory, and domain model creates a clear structure for organizing users and applications. Authentication methods, conditional access, and governance tools then build on that structure to enforce secure, adaptive control. Every access request, whether from a person, device, or service, flows through this identity layer, making it the heart of modern cloud defense. By mastering Entra's capabilities, you enable your organization to operate confidently in a connected world where identity is truly the new perimeter.